Shalom, 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 Israel. First off, giving all honor and praises to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh Shai, Capt. Benaniyah, coming to you with another first day of the week breakdown with the battle axe of the Most High. Like we said, to start brothers and sisters off in the spirit, to keep them enduring in this walk, keep them starting out in the first day of the week breakdown and so forth. So the name of today's class is Bittersweet in the Truth. Bittersweet in the truth. Because I know a lot of times when, Shalom, Brother Ray, when brothers and sisters come into this truth, finding out you're an Israelite, you know, that's the sweet. You know, that's the sweetness, that's the honeycomb. It's a beautiful thing finding out that you're one of God's chosen people. I know many times, brothers and sisters, I've always felt that. Shalom, shalom, Sister Mary Houston, Brother Daniel, how you doing? I know many brothers and sisters have always felt that it was something special about so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You know, I've always had that feeling, you know, like we were better than the other nations in many aspects. Now we knowing coming into this truth, we better than them in all aspects. So, but it's also flip side to that thing. You got the bitter part, meaning what? When you come into this truth, you have to kill off certain spirits that you had in the world. You cannot be the same way. Brothers cannot lead the same way that they led and how they was in the world. Women cannot be submissive as they were in the world, as you are now in the truth. It's a lot of different things that brothers and sisters have to kick off, and that's the bitter. You know, you don't want to apply the commandments when need be, especially in times of need, especially when times of when certain demons and spirits are on you. And that's what this truth is all about, man. You know, first precept we want to go to, because we heard that we said we over all nations. You know, what advantage is it knowing you're an Israelite? Well, guess what? There's many advantages. Let's see what the scripture's saying. This is one of the scriptures that Geno Jennings butchered. You know, he literally read verse 2 and skipped down to verse 9. I'm talking about just straight wicked and madness. This is the book of Romans chapter 3 and verse 1. It says, what advantage then had the Jew? Or what profit is there of circumcision? So he's asking a question. What profit is it you being a Jew? Or what advantage is of circumcision, meaning having the law, statutes, and commandments? Let's see what verse 2 says. Much every way. So that's the sweet part of knowing that you're an Israelite, being awoken, knowing that you're God's chosen people. He made you to be over all nations of the planet Earth. That's the sweet part. It says, because that unto them were committed the oracles of God. That's the main reason why. Shalom, shalom, Brother Gabriel, y'all family. How you doing, How you doing, sis? That's the main reason. And like we said, that's the sweetness of being in this truth. Knowing that we have an advantage over all the other nations, man. Mainly because what? The Most High God has given us his laws, statutes, and commandments. They wouldn't give it to anybody else. Most High God is not dealing with no other nation like he deals with the Israelites, which are the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans today. Like we say, but it's always what? A flip side to these things as well. It says, verse 3, for what if some did not believe? Meaning, well, what if you don't believe that God made us to be the chosen? Shalom, shalom, Brother Randy Ware. What if you don't believe that, guess what, the Most High God made us to be over all nations? It says, shall their unbelief make the faith of God without effect? God forbid. So Most High God said, if you don't believe, it doesn't matter, because the prophecies that are in these scriptures are still going to come to pass. It says, God forbid, verse 4, yea, let God be true, but every man a liar. Just like how Geno Jennings was being a damn liar and a deceiver when he was breaking this down. Read verse 1 and conveniently skipped over 8 verses and jumped down to verse 9. I mean, just straight wicked and deceiving the people, man. Verse 4 again, it says, God forbid, yea, let God be true, the Bible, Geno Jennings, and every man a liar, as it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings, and mightest overcome when thou art judged. And we know that these things go back to what? Psalm 62 and 9 and Psalms 51 and 4. That's what these things was written about. Because I know Christianity will make it seem like the New Testament is just total opposite of the Old Testament. No, when they're one and the same. All they're doing is expounding upon what Old Testament writings are saying. That's it. But like we said, it's good and it's bad coming into this truth. And a lot of times brothers need to maintain and hold on to what? To the good. This is how you show growth in this truth, brothers and sisters. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. Just to get that out the way, let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3. Because this truth is bittersweet, man. You know, the sweetness is having great times when we're at the feast days, you know, having a great time amongst each other. But then you have that bitter sometimes. You have brothers drinking a little bit too much, sisters maybe drinking a little bit too much. You may have one brother or sister out of order. So it's always that bitter and that sweet. But the Most High God is doing these things so we can what? Eventually get these things in order. Because brothers and sisters must be in order. Guess what? Lord's will, we make it to the wilderness. It ain't going to be no little pep talks. Christ, with the 144,000, he's not going to play any games out there, brothers and sisters. And a lot of times we have to understand the seriousness that this truth is all about. Yeah, we have good time amongst each other, but this truth, hey, brothers got to take this truth very, very serious, man. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3, and verse 3. Because even Ezekiel wrote about these things, man. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3, and we'll start at verse 1. It says, moreover, said he unto me, son of man, eat that thou findest, eat this roll, and go speak unto the house of Israel. So the Most High God was what? Dealing with the prophet Ezekiel. He told him to eat this roll. No, it's not literally talking about him putting up the Bible and tearing out pages and putting it in his mouth. No, it's talking about read the Bible and eat and take on the understanding that the Most High God has given us. This is just a similitude for understanding the scriptures like many of the scriptures do. Let's prove that. Let's go to the book of Hosea, chapter 12 and verse 10. Just to prove that the Bible is full of what? Similitudes, parables, and comparing one thing to another. Go to the book of Daniel, chapter 12 and verse 10. This is the Salakia. This is the book of Hosea, Salakia, brothers and sisters. Hosea, chapter 12 and verse 10. And like we said, if any brothers or sisters, Shalom, brother Yaakov and family, any brothers or sisters got any questions, you know, put them in the chat. Y'all know how we get down on this live. Shalom, shalom, Hana Israel. This is the book of Hosea, chapter 12 and verse 10. I have also spoken by the prophets, and I have multiplied visions and used similitudes. A similitude is the Most High God comparing one thing to another. So he's comparing, taking on the understanding as to eating a roll. It says, and use similitudes by the ministry of the prophets. So the Most High God constantly does those things. Shalom, 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 brother. Sons of Thunder, Kadar. Shalom, brother. Good to see you, man. I know we missed you out there yesterday, man. I know it was cold as hell. But hey, brothers are still doing the work, man. So the Most High God constantly uses similitudes, and that's what he's saying and conveying in the book of Ezekiel. Let's go back to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3 and verse 1. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3 and verse 1. Moreover, he said unto me, son of man, eat that thou findest, eat this roll, and go speak unto the house of Israel. So that's what the men of the Lord's job is, the real prophets of the Most High God, to take on this understanding, get what the Most High God is conveying to us, take on the law, statutes, and commandments, and go and teach the true understanding to our people that's out there. The people that's out there that's in darkness, don't know up from down or left from right, don't understand the true understanding of the Bible. And this is the same message that the prophets that have been before them was conveying the whole time. Let's get another precept. Let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 14. You know, I know the more I read this and look over these things, man, the more and more I love Ezra, 2nd Ezra especially, man. We're going to jump down to verse 2nd Ezra, chapter 14, and start at verse 39. I'm going to start at verse 38. The book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 14 and verse 38. And the next day, behold, a voice called me, saying, Ezra, open thy mouth and drink, that I will give thee to drink. So this is saying the same thing. In this context, it's saying drink. And Ezekiel is saying eat. But these are both things that you do what? Take into your spirit. Take into your soul, take into your body to learn to understand. Meaning the Most High God was giving him the understanding of the end times and giving him what? Telling him to understand these things. Verse 39, it says, then opened I my mouth, and behold, he reached me a full cup, which was full, Salakia, which was full as it were with water, but the color of it was like fire. And we know what that fire is going into Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 14, because the word is like fire. The word is like fire, meaning what? When we're out there telling people what they're doing wrong according to the Bible, guess what it does? It burns them up, man. It ignites their conscience or their spirits, man. And it's like they're on fire. That's how the word of the Most High God is, man. Shalom, shalom, Miss Yahweh saves. That's what the word is. And it should make you feel some type of way when you're not doing according to the Bible. If you didn't, if your spirit wasn't or is not convicted when these words are brought out, then guess what? You have to check your spirit. You have to do some soul searching. You may not have the spirit of the Most High in you. Verse 40, it says, and I took it and drank. And when I had drunk of it, my heart uttered understanding, and wisdom grew in my breast, for my spirit strengthened my memory. So it's just like what Ezekiel was saying. He took of this roll and ate it, meaning what? He got the understanding. He got the understanding. He took the time in to learn. And that's why it's very pivotal in this walk that brothers do what? Study to show thyself approved unto God. You know, up in your study habits, up in your reading habits, even for myself. You know, I may go through it, but I feel like I can always read and do more. And if you can, please do those things, brothers and sisters. That's what this truth is all about. It's all about growth, man. Let's jump up to verse 25. And come thither, and I shall light a candle of understanding in thine heart. So once we get these things, the Most High God would light a candle of understanding in our hearts. The candle is making reference to what? To your spirit when you read Proverbs chapter 27 and verse 20. That's what it's igniting in your spirit. Let me check that to be sure. Let's see what the candle. I don't want to butcher the scriptures. We want to properly divide the word. Let's see. I don't want to butcher it. No, that's not. I want 20 and 27. Yeah. So like your brothers and sisters, the candle is going into Proverbs 20 and 27. Salakia. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 20 and verse 27. The spirit of man is the candle of the Lord, searching all the inward parts of the belly. And your belly is not literally making reference to your stomach. It's a similitude for what? Taking it into your heart, to your mind, and to your spirit ultimately. That's what it's making reference to. And that's what we do when we, guess what, eat the roll of the Bible. When we drink of these things. And we sipping with Christ. Shalom, shalom, Sister Samitra Young. How you doing, sis? That's what we do when we take on this understanding and literally get into the Bible and read. Shalom, shalom, Sister Odetta Price. That's what we do. And we're commanded to do these things. This is the book of 2 Ezra, chapter 14, verse 25, again from the top. And come thither, and I shall light a candle of understanding in thine heart. And that's something that brothers and sisters want to make sure that they're constantly praying for in this walk. You know, it's not enough for you to just be in this walk a few months, a few weeks, a few years. You got to constantly pray that the Most High God light a candle of understanding, that you may grow from the day before, from the week before, from the month before, from years before, and understanding new things in the scriptures and understanding new things of what is really required of you by the Most High God. It says, in thine heart, which shall not be put out till the things be performed which thou shalt begin to write. So you got to pray that the Most High God keep your candle of understanding lit within you. Because a lot of times that's also the bittersweetness truth. Brothers coming to this truth on fire, sisters coming to this truth on fire. Then they feel like they done took and learned all that it is to have enough, then you get burnt out of the truth. No, that's the bitter parts, man. Not what? Not having enough gas in the tank to, guess what, run this marathon. Because this is not a sprint, brothers and sisters. This is a marathon, man. A lot of times people don't understand that, man. You know, a lot of times you trying to be precept king or precept prince, and then you get burnt out of this truth. Shalom, brother Judah. That's right. You know, the law is a lamp. Commandments is a light. That's what these things ultimately go back into. Let's get that precept. That's what we need in this walk too. These things are our guides, man. Let's go to the book of Proverbs. I put a good precept on there. We'll read it. Book of Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 23. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproofs of instructions are the way of life. So like we said, coming into the truth is the sweet part. Learning you an Israelite, learning you a king, sisters learning that they are princesses, that you have to be in order, but then turns that bitter when you what? Seeing that you're out of order, then that correction comes. A lot of times people do not like correction in the truth, man. And guess what? Being in the truth is all about correction. You've been in the world 30, 40, 50 years, some brothers and sisters. Now you coming into the truth 1 and 2 years, you and thinking you're not going to be corrected, man, your soul is sadly mistaken, man. Because I know a lot of times when they come into the truth, people try to bring Christianity with them. Well, I did know these things. No, brother, no. You didn't learn nothing about this truth before the truth, man. And we have to get that straight. That's why Christ warned us in Matthew 18. Unless you come as a little child, meaning what? Forgetting everything that you done learned in the world and come back to the true understanding of the Bible. Hey, guess what? You ain't gonna make it to the kingdom. You can't put old wine into new bottles, man. You cannot, man. And that's one thing that brothers and sisters struggle with in this walk as well. All praises, Sister Samitra Young, I'm better, Captain. Thanks for your prayers. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh. All praises, sis. That's one thing we constantly want to pray for, too. You know, brothers and sisters being in good health to do the work of the Lord in this truth. But that's what the scriptures is all about. And brothers have to learn to make that bittersweet in this walk, man. It's a beautiful thing to be corrected according to the Bible. We're not being corrected according to man's understanding. And that's what a lot of times brothers and sisters mistake. Shalom, shalom, Brother Judah King. They think that it's brothers that's doing that. No, it's the Most High God speaking through us. Now, if we were using our own words, I can understand it. But when we're literally going precept upon precept to show you where you're going off and then giving scriptures to show you what you need to do to get back on track, it is not us. Hey, that's coming straight from the Most High. And we have to understand those things, man. Let's go back to Ezekiel chapter 3 and verse 1. So like we said, it's a bit of truth to this thing, man. A bit of truth. And brothers and sisters have to learn to do what? To accept both of them. This is the book of Ezekiel chapter 3 and verse 1. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, eat that thou findest, eat this roll, and go speak unto the house of Israel. Verse 2, so I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat that roll. Meaning what? Take on the understanding of the Bible. Now we understand Revelations chapter 12, chapter 13, that it's not literally talking about a dragon with 7 heads and 10 heads. We understand that these is referring to and similitudes for nations of wicked men. We understand these things more and more now. We understand Christ, that we must keep the commandments. We understand that we must keep the Feast of Dedication, the high holy days, Passover. We understand these things now. Verse 3, and he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat, and fill thy bowels with this roll that I give thee. Then did I eat, just like how Ezra did. Ezra was saying that he drank, saying the same thing. A similitude for what? Putting these words into your spirit. It says, then did I eat, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness. Meaning what? Ezekiel seen how ultimately we were going to get the kingdom. How ultimately the Most High God was going to bring them out of the Babylonian captivity. But then he understood the bitterness too. That guess what? They were being punished for their sins, just like us. Now we understand why we went into slavery on slave ships. We have never known those things until the understanding of the scriptures came out. Understanding we broke our covenant with the Most High God and he judged us and punished us by way of slavery on slave ships. Now it makes more sense. It makes a whole lot of sense. And brothers and sisters got to understand that. Let's get a precept. Let's go to the book of Revelations, chapter 10 and verse 9. Saying the same thing with John the Revelator. John the Revelator, he was getting these things from Ezekiel. And then what? He added on to it. Let's go to the book of Revelations, chapter 10 and verse 9. Saying the same exact thing, brothers and sisters. This is the book of Revelations, chapter 10 and verse 9. And I went unto the angel and said unto him, give me the little book. And he said unto me, take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter. Why did it make his belly bitter? This is John the Revelator on the island of Patmos. This is not John the Baptist. This is John the Revelator when he was banished to the island of Patmos. You know, suffering persecution for the word's sake, similar to what we went into yesterday, as all of the disciples did. You know, many of them were put to death, crucified upside down. Peter, you know, we obviously know Hamashiach Yahushua going into Jesus the Christ. He was crucified, beaten, forced to wear a crown of thorns, pierced in the side with a spear. He suffered much pain and suffering for his nation, man. Like many of us going to do in this truth, man. That's the bitter side of it. Coming into this truth, understanding we're going to suffer persecution, you know, from family members, you know, that don't line up with this truth, you know, and saying that you're in a cult, you know, you're going crazy. What the hell you mean I'm going crazy for? Doing what God said, to keeping his commandments? The same book you claim you read every day that we know just literally on that chimney collecting dust? You know, these are things, this is the bitter part of these things. Husbands and wives constantly at odds with one another. Children's at odds. Co-workers, family members, seeing these things. You may see your financial status decline a little bit because of being in this truth. Verse 9 again from the top. And I went unto the angel and said unto him, give me the little book. And he said unto me, take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. So this is why we name the class the Bittersweet. Because like we said, the sweetness is knowing that you're an Israelite, knowing that you God's chosen people. But the bitter is going into us having to suffer persecution from all realms of society. You even see it with Kyrie Irving and Kanye West. And basically being ostracized because they don't want to keep believing the lies that our people have been force fed. And that's a part of this walk. You know, to suffer persecution, man. That's what we was going over and touching over in class yesterday. We have to understand these things. Let's go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 27. Understanding the bitterness. Let's get that sweetness real quick. Let's go to the book of Proverbs 27 and verse 7. And this is what the Most High God is preparing us for. I would say the truth ain't all peaches and cream, brothers and sisters. It's not, man. You're going to endure some hardships in this thing, man. You have to endure it to the end, though. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 27 and verse 7. The full soul loatheth and honeycomb, but to the hungry soul, every bitter thing is sweet. I'm going to read that again. It says, the full soul loatheth and honeycomb. The word loathe means to hate. The honeycomb is making reference to the Bible, meaning the sweetness that it brings to us. Like we say, it's a sweet thing that the Most High God has woken us up to wearing our fringes. That is holy apparel. You know how many times we get compliments like, damn, I love that jacket, man. Like them fringes really set that jacket off. Or even brothers having a beard and so forth. You know, you not eating pork or guess what? Unclean food to do what? Damage and harm to your body. That's the sweetness that the scriptures is opening up to us. But a lot of times our people do what? Our people hate that thing. And that's what this is going into. It says the full soul, meaning the soul or the spirit that think he knows it all. I got the understanding without even using the Bible. Just like the brother we was dealing out there with yesterday, man. Brother was wicked as hell. Thought he was really deep. Brother, y'all know about the 400 years in darkness? Brother, it wasn't 400 years. It was 1,000 years. Like we said, that's why we didn't know what the hell you was talking about. But you always have those brothers that want to be deep, man. And this is what this is talking about. Like his soul is already full with the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. No, because like I always say, just because the knowledge of wickedness isn't wisdom. And our people really do be thinking they deep out here. Verse 7 again, it says, the full soul loatheth and honeycomb, but to the hungry soul, every bitter thing is sweet. Meaning what? Our people constantly trying to fight and understand who they are. Constantly trying to fight and grasp to knowledge. That's why a lot of times our people run to Egyptology. Because it's saying, but to the hungry soul, meaning what? Their souls are hungry to know who they are, to get some type of understanding. So we gravitate to anything that has brown skin. So that's the first thing that they gravitate to. Then they gravitate to Islam. It's just a hungry soul. And they're not seeking after what's going to truly quench their thirst. It says, but to the hungry soul, every bitter thing is sweet, meaning the knowledge and understanding that they're taking on is not according to the Bible. That is really bitter. And they have our people going off twice as worse. Yeah, brothers out there like young Pharaoh. He may have some knowledge of some certain things, but he's missing the true knowledge of the Bible, man. Shalom, shalom, King Ray. He's missing the true understanding. It's like many of our people, man. Like we said, that's the bittersweet of this truth. Let's go back to Revelations. Chapter 10 and verse 9 again from the top. And it reads, and I went unto the angel, and he said unto him, give me the little book. And he said unto me, take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter. Meaning what? When we read in the curses in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 15 through 68, that's the bitter. That's very, very bitter. Shalom, shalom, brother Joseph. Jeremiah 49, Jeremiah 36, exactly. That's the bitter. That's the sweet as well, meaning what? The judgments that we seeing that the Most High God is going to bring on the other nations. Shalom, shalom, mama, how you doing? That's the bitter. But we got to understand, hey, we have to take them both. Like we said, the sweet is us, what? Applying God's commandments. That's the sweet part. Sisters understanding that, guess what? They must wear dresses. Deuteronomy 22 and 5. I mean, that's, making no excuses. Can't eat unclean things. You can't smoke weed anymore. Can't smoke black and miles. You can't watch porn. You can't have sex out of wedlock. You can't commit fornication. Cannot commit adultery. Those things should be sweet to our people, man. But I know a lot of times what? Let's go to Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 20. One of my favorite scriptures as well. Scripture that I meditate on when I first came into the truth, man. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil. And that's a lot of times what brothers and sisters get, even outside of the truth. Sometimes in the truth as well. Our people call evil good and good evil. Even when we out there teaching out there on the block. Why y'all out here? Like, brother and sister, we out here for y'all. To get y'all to change your hearts and your minds. To be better persons according to the Bible. But our people will call that bitter. Brother, why are you telling me I can't eat pork? Brother, I'm not saying it. God is telling you that. Like we said, when you eat those things, it does damage to your body. Like we're saying, we telling you can't smoke weed. That does damage to your body. When you're having sex out of wedlock and just whoring out sisters and sisters are being whores, that what? The judgment for that is STDs. Just like eating unclean food is the diseases that we suffer from now. High blood pressure, gout. These are the judgments for breaking God's commandments. I'm going to read verse 20 again from the top. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light. Darkness is going into sin. The light is what? Proverbs 6 and 23. It says, and light for darkness, and put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. And that's what our people do, even in the truth sometimes. Trying to make excuses not to do the work of the Lord. Giving excuses what? Not to keep his commandments. Giving excuses to do. And that's what it means. Putting darkness for light and light for darkness. Teaching our people that what? We don't have to do those things. That's the Old Testament. Well, brother, sister, we reading the whole Bible. Throughout the whole Bible is telling us things that we should do and things that we shouldn't do. And that's what we always ask people. You want to make it to the kingdom of heaven, right? You want to make it to heaven. Well, what did Christ tell us to do? And we clearly read it. He tells us to keep the commandments, but our people say, no, we don't have to do that anymore. It says that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Verse 21, woe unto them. The word woe means destruction. Shalom, shalom. Brother Chaziah. It says, woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes. And that's what a lot of times happen to brothers and sisters in this truth. They're wise in their own eyes. You want to be that deep brother. You want to be deep, brother. I know more precepts than you. And the Most High God said that he's not worried about that. He just wants you to keep the commandments. It says, woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. It says, woe unto them that are mighty to drink wine and men of strength to mingle strong drink. Meaning what? Taking on understandings that has nothing to do with the Bible. Want to be so deep that deepness calls them to, guess what? Be carried out of the truth. We have to watch out for these particular type of spirits, because these things can, guess what? This is the bitterness that the Bible is talking about. The being filled with all different type of wisdom that's not the light given to him that is in misery. And we know what the light is. Let's get that real quick. Let's go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 6 and verse 23. This is how you properly get understanding of your Bible. Going to another verse to, guess what? Tell you what this verse means, to tell you what the light is according to the Bible. This is the book of Proverbs, and we just read it. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 6, verse 23. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light. So that light that we need to be searching that takes us out of misery is the commandments. And like we see, I always testify to those things, man. I know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm better than I was before I got into this truth. You know, like I always say, I was a drug dealer, a whoremonger. You know, now that I know that I can do those things, it makes me feel better, you know, about myself. You know, I know a lot of times we do that, even growing up in the hoods, you know, dealing with some of the older OGs that we call them. You know, we was always just taught, you know, brother, have as many women as you want, brother. You know, that boy, you a player, you know, but no, that's not the truth. You know, that really makes brothers weak. Like we said, that teaches us just to whore out sisters and teaches us not to be responsible for our sisters, man. That's what those things really teach our people, man. I'm going to read this again. This is the book of Job, chapter 3 and verse 20. Wherefore is light given to him that is in misery. And we need this light, man, because our people are in misery, man. Feeling like it's no way out. Shalom, shalom, Sister Genesis. Feeling like it's no way out. Like we at our next end. A lot of people dealing with health problems, financial problems. That's misery, man. But we got to understand, once we keep the commandments, the Most High God will fight for us and turn that upside down. It's power in keeping the commandments. And that's one of our people fail to realize, man. It says, read it again. Wherefore is light given to him that is in misery, and life unto the bitter in soul. So the Most High God is giving us life. Because we know we got a lot of bitter souls out there. We know a lot of times, even, I'll say, you stay next to this older lady, you know, and, you know, I was taught to show respect to elders. But every time I would go out, I would speak to the older sister, boy, she would give me the meanest mug. I'm talking about just bitter. I'm like, how you doing? You know, because, you know, we down south, we got Southern hospitality, but not everybody. So we see the bitterness. We see the hatred that so-called blacks have for one another at times. You even see it when you go into the grocery stores, when you're dealing with the younger generation. No manners, even some of the older generations, man. No manners. You could just see love just gone. You're like, damn. I mean, it really flexes your spirit, because us that are spiritual people, we can see like, damn, you can see the hatred that a sister have. Sister, I don't even know you. Why would you hate me if I'm just coming up here to get my groceries? Or brother. You know, we see these things constantly, man. And like we said, once we apply the commandments, guess what? These things will stop these things in its tracks. Us keeping this one commandment, guess what? It'll change our people overnight. So, precept I always love going to. Let's go to the book of Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 17. The book of Leviticus chapter 19 verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. If our people keep this one commandment, guess what? Black on black crime will end overnight. It'll end, man, solely overnight if every one of us applied this thing, man. You wouldn't have no more unnecessary bickering. You wouldn't have no more Bloods versus Crips. You wouldn't have no more of these things, man. It says, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor. Meaning what? People take comfort in correction. A lot of times you can't even correct brothers and sisters, man. Even in the truth. You can't correct them, man. They ready to, guess what? I'ma leave. Nigga, bye. Sister, bye. We don't care, because guess what? We're going to do what the Most High God commands us. And if you going off, it's our job to, guess what? Give you the commandments that you are breaking, and guess what? Give you other commandments to, guess what? Get you back in the spirit. Why are we in the truth if we don't want to be corrected, man? I mean, it makes no sense. It says, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor. The word rebuke means to correct. But then we get people say, you can't judge me. Brother, judging according to the Bible is correction. I'm not passing judgment on you. It's a difference, brothers and sisters. But why wouldn't I want to tell my brother he's going off? I want him to make it to the kingdom. It says, but thou shalt love, Salakia, and thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. And that's ultimately why we correct them, because you don't want to suffer sin upon them, man. I know brothers is putting great precepts up in there. You know, great precepts. Verse 18, thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people. How many times that brothers and sisters have spirits have been made bitter because of the grudging that they have for one another, especially with family members, man. And I know you can testify to this, even especially when you have like a grandmother or pawpaw die. You know, a lot of times a family can tear themselves apart, man, with that. You know, and that's something that brothers and sisters must learn to shake as well, man. We hear it constantly. I know me and brother Ezekiel, he was telling me about his account with his auntie just leaving. You know, we see these things, man. We see these, even with brother Keenan and so forth. You know, many families, man. It says, thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. So if our people were to keep this one commandments, a lot of this bitterness and grudging, guess what could stop in our nation? You know, that's right. Brothers put great precept. Deuteronomy 28, verse 54, Matthew 16, chapter 17. You know, these things are pivotal for our growth in this walk. And like we said, if you're not in the truth to grow, you know, what the hell are you in the truth for? Let's go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 2, verse 19. Just kind of want to go over some fruit little precepts that I've written down. Like I said, if brothers and sisters have topics or questions that they want to bring up, please put them in the comment board so we can kind of go over them. Remember, your questions are warranted so that it may build a brother or a sister up in this walk. It's the book of Jeremiah. Because let's see what bitterness is according to the Bible. Jeremiah chapter 2 and verse 19. They say just a few little precepts that I wrote down. Now we know Jeremiah is prophesying to the southern kingdom in the what? In the Babylonian captivity around what? 586 BC, give or take a years before and give or take years after. Jeremiah 2 and verse 19. And it reads, thine own wickedness shall correct thee. Meaning what? When the Most High God is putting these curses on us, that's what correct us. Now we understanding why we went into captivity, in slavery on slave ships. We understanding those things. So now we don't want to keep going through those things. So what should we do? Guess what? Apply the commandments so that we may get what? The blessings. Exactly what Ak is going into, rule and power. That's what we want. And a lot of times our people, that's too high for brothers and sisters, man. We can't even, sometimes brothers can't even control their own household, let alone thinking about having rulership over the planet Earth. You know, that's some responsibility for Black and Latino and Native American men. A lot of times we don't like responsibility. That's another reason why brothers and sisters don't want to come into the truth. What do I got to do something? What I just can't believe and say? No, you have to do that, but you also must do God's commandments. This truth is about action, brothers and sisters. Verse 19, again from the top. Thine own wickedness shall correct thee, and thy backsliding shall reprove thee. Because we know you may have brothers coming to this truth, and then they do what? They backslide. Meaning what? Their works is not measuring up to what it was when they first came into the truth. Even with sisters as well. You want to make sure that you pray that the Most High God don't give you that spirit of backsliding, man. That's right. You want to make sure that's something that brothers and sisters want to constantly pray for, that he keep us on fire in this truth, man. It says, thine own wickedness shall correct thee, and thy backsliding shall reprove thee. Know therefore and see that it is an evil thing and bitter. Let's see what? that thou hast forsaken the Lord thy God, and that thy fear is not in thee, saith the Lord God of hosts. So the Most High God is letting us know when we forsake him, that's where we have that bitterness in there. Now we know we can feel that, guess what, the truth is right. Even like brothers that's before this truth, sisters that were before this truth, we know that something is not quite right in this world. It's like Neo in the Matrix. It's like you walking around, stuff look real, but stuff is not really real. Because guess what? We were missing what? Tapping into God's law, statutes, and commandments. We were missing our nationality. We were missing our heritage. That's why we didn't feel quite right in this world. It's like something going on, man. Even now it's getting stronger and stronger. And I know brothers and sisters can feel it like something is about to happen, man. Well, you damn right something about to happen. Christ is, guess what, is about to invade the planet Earth, man. So you might want to get your spirits right so you don't have to see him face to face, man. You want to be able to see him in a sweet manner, not in that bitter manner, man. Because he ain't going to play no games when he come back. I'm going to read this again from the top. Thine own wickedness shall correct thee, and thy backsliding shall reprove thee. Know therefore and see that it is an evil thing and bitter, that thou hast forsaken the Lord thy God, and that thy fear is not in thee. And a lot of times our people, we don't fear God. We don't fear the Most High God. We say we do, but our actions show otherwise. There's two ways you teach. You teach by word of mouth, and you teach by your actions. Your actions show who you are. You know, you may have that brother who sell drugs to the community. Well, you know, I buy them turkeys every Thanksgiving. But brother, you buying them turkeys for that one day, but how many more days throughout the year are you killing them? You know, that's the thing. And like I said, our people hadn't been taught to think on a particular type level. You know, we haven't been taught. But once we come back to our power, meaning keeping God's commandments, the Most High God gives us that understanding to what? To be able to see those things on a physical level and more importantly, on a spiritual level. I'm trying to go back up. Make sure I don't miss brothers and sisters if y'all have any questions. That's right. You know, brothers and sisters putting great precepts in this thing. Like we said, the Most High God is doing this to us. I'm going to read on verse 20. For of old time I have broken thy yoke, meaning what? He has took the captivity off of us. The yoke is also making reference to what? To the curses. It says, and burst thy bands, and thou saidest, I would not transgress. Meaning what? The Most High God gave us a time to repent. He gave us a grace period even in the Old Testament. Yes, grace was in the Old Testament, brothers and sisters. A lot of times brothers and sisters don't even understand that. Yeah, that's a good subject. I know Brother Shaziah was asking about Galatians chapter 3, verse 8. That's always a good one to go into. Because I know a lot of times when our people read the New Testament, they thinking it's saying something different from the old. It says, and burst thy bands, and thou saidest, I would not transgress. The word transgress means to break. According to what? 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4. It says, when upon every high hill and under every green tree thou wanderest, playing the harlot. High hills is going into what? Lower governments. And the tree is making reference to man. These are similitudes that the Most High God is giving us. Let's get the precept real quick. Go to Mark. Let's see if I got it. Mark with me. Real quick, just for new brothers and new sisters in there that is thinking it's literally talking about a tree. No, it's not. Mark chapter 8 and verse 24. This is the book of Mark. Let's see what that tree really represents. The book of Mark chapter 8 and verse 24. And he looked up and said, I see men as trees walking. So this is a similitude describing what? Describing men. Us following men's doctrines, us following government doctrines. Even like in this captivity right now. I know a lot of times our people have been forced what? Christianity. Christianity is white supremacy at its finest. Like we always tell brothers. I know a lot of times people think just because we're holding the Bible that this is Christianity. No. And you can clearly see the difference. You know, a lot of people in Christianity go to church on what day? Sunday. But the Bible tells us to go to church on Saturday. The Bible tells us not to celebrate Christmas. Our people do it. It tells you not to eat pork. Christianity said you can eat whatever you want. They tell you that the laws is done away with. There's no scripture in the Bible that says that. You know, you can clearly see that Christianity is not matching up with the Bible. God never gave us religion. He only gave us what? Laws, statutes, and commandments that we're commanded to keep. So let's go back to Jeremiah chapter 2 and verse 20. For of old time I have broken thy yoke and burst thy bands, meaning what? Took the curses off of us. And thou saidest, I would not transgress, meaning what? We're not going to sin anymore, Lord. We're not going to break your commandments. It says, when upon every high hill and under every green tree thou wanderest. And trees is also going into what? Doctrines as well. It says, thou wanderest, playing the harlot, meaning what? We love to go from doctrine to men, to nations, to governments. We love to go and trust in these other people outside of the Most High God. Most High God said, don't trust in uncertain riches, man. It says, verse 21, yet I had planted thee a noble vine, meaning the Most High God planted us, gave us the law, statutes, and commandments, and guess what? We went off. That's why we're in these conditions that we're in now. When you look at all the facets of society, so-called blacks and Hispanics are at the bottom in every category. You know, every category. You know, we're the first fired, last hired. We get shot down by the police the most. We the most oppressed as a nation. And we have to think to ourselves, why is this going on? It's going on because we're breaking God's commandments. And that's simple. Like we said, that's the sweet. Once you come back in, you're like, now I know why the world is in a condition that it's in. It's in the condition it's in because you're not taking your rightful place as God's chosen people, brothers and sisters. That's why it's in this condition, man. It says, yet I have planted thee a noble vine, holy, a right seed. How then art thou turned into a degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? How then are we doing that? Then you see many, all you have to do is pull it up. You see those things, and I'm gonna tell you, a lot of those things are not put out there. Remember, they always kind of want to separate. So by you saying that, do you not believe that Hispanics are Israelites? Because I know a lot of times where brothers be going by those things. A lot of those times, those things happen to Issachar. You know, they're going through the curses just like we are. Robert, man, do you not believe that Hispanics are Israelites? They say, you know, if brothers want to smoke, hey, come on, bring the smoke, man. Let's get into that thing. But I know we want to touch on this with Brother Chaziah real quick, and we'll get back to you while I'm waiting for you to put that thing down. Let's go to the book of Galatians, chapter 3. Now, I know a lot of times brothers and sisters in Christianity, yeah, that's a good point too, sis. All you have to do is Google it. Give me some time. Give me some time. I'll do it. Let us go over this right quick. And we can touch on that. I know I'm do a class on that anyway. You know, yeah, you bring that spirit out. This is the book of Galatians. Now, this is the thing. A lot of times when we're reading the book of Galatians, and like we're saying, a lot of times when you're reading these books, reading the book of Galatians, a lot of times it's good to do what? Get the context. Get the author. We know that the author is Paul, but let's get the audience who Paul is talking to. A lot of times you know these things when you read the opening verses, and it'll let you know who the book of Galatians is written to. Remember, Yeshua Yehuda, I know you struggle with that, Ak. Remember, judge not according to appearance, Ak, but judge what? Righteous judgment, Ak. Remember, you must know, and I'm going to tell you, when brothers are saying that, they don't obviously know the full history of the northern tribe, on that how they mix with the other nations. And like a lot of times, brothers are not subduing their own understanding. They're just going by what they have been force-fed. You got to go by what the scriptures say, brother Yeshua Yehuda. This truth is not about color, but it is about bloodline. So like I always ask you all the time, All you have to do is literally look up Blake Griffin's son, brother. His son looks Caucasian, but he is a black man, brother. I mean, that's just very obvious. If you look at his father, his dad is darker than 1,000 midnights. So yes, remember you are what your father is, brother. I don't know why you struggle with that, brother Yeshua Yehuda. But this is the book of Galatians chapter 1, verse 1. I want Galatians chapter 3, verse 28. But we're going to get the context, then go back to Galatians 3 and 28. This is the book of Galatians chapter 1, verse 1. Paul, an apostle, not of men, neither by man, but by Yahushua and God the Father, who raised him from the dead. Meaning what? Christ taught Paul. Meaning what? Rose him from the dead estate to bring him into the true light. Because what? Paul was persecuting the church, his own people, until Christ came and gave him the understanding, no, those are my people. And when you're persecuting those people, you're basically doing it to me. Verse 2, and all the brethren which are with me unto the churches of Galatia. Now, who are the brethren? The brethren is going back to what? Romans chapter what? 11. And this is how you build the understanding, precept upon precept. Who are the brethren? Let's see what he said. I'm going to start at Romans chapter 10. Romans 10 and 1. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved. So Paul's brethren are the Israelites. Now we'll jump down to Romans 11 and 1. Romans chapter 11 and verse 1. I say then, had God cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. So Paul is letting you know who his brethren are. Paul was of the tribe of Benjamin, of the nation of Israel. So Paul in the book of Galatians is writing to the Israelites that were scattered in Galatia, modern day Asia Minor or Turkey today. So now let's go to Galatians chapter 3, verse 28. Since we know who is this talking to, shalom, shalom, brother Donovan. How you doing, Op? Now we know, we got the context of who it's talking about. Now let's read Galatians chapter 3, verse 28. This is the book of Galatians chapter 3 and verse 28. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither bond nor free. There is neither male nor female, for ye are all one in Christ Jesus. So Christians, they'll read that and they'll solely isolate that scripture. They're isolated. Shalom, shalom, brother Ehud. They're isolated. Take this. Oh, this is for everybody. Christ don't matter. But we just read the context of who it is talking to. He's literally writing this letter. That's like you having mail. Your neighbor go and get your mail that's addressed to you saying it's you. I mean, that makes no sense. That's basically what the other nations did. They stole the Bible and now saying that this Bible is addressed to them. No. And to understand verse 28, brothers and sisters must know about what? Brothers from Battle Axes down show should know. They should know about what? The Greek captivity. Remember, in the Bible, you have all captivities in the Bible. All, that's right. You have all captivities in the Bible except the Greek captivity. So you mean to tell me we go from the Persian and Mede captivity all the way to the Roman captivity? No. And this is why brothers and sisters must learn world history, because you can easily put the pieces of the puzzle together. Well, I know Alexander the Greek, which is a white man, came into power in what? 333 BC. So how does now, when we get to the New Testament, it's only talking about the Romans? Remember, the Greeks came into power before the Romans. So you have to get that history. And guess what? That history is found in the Bible. This is also going into the bittersweet. The sweet, when you come into this truth, is meaning what? You're going to learn real history. Not that watered down history that we done been taught in history class. No, this is real history. Bible history is world history. And that's right. Let's get that. First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 41. This is that account of that. This is why it's saying no Jew nor Greek. Because during the Greek captivity, we couldn't call ourselves Israelites. We had to call ourselves Greeks, or we would have been put to death, just like in America. Let you put so-called tribe of Judah on an application, and see if you get that job. All the time, maybe, I ain't gonna say that because the Most High God, he's starting to fight for us now. But I would say 7 times out of 10, hey, no, we ain't calling this brother back. Judah, I don't know who that is. They are not acknowledging us as God's chosen people. This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 41. This is that history, and this is a book that brothers and sisters need to get. You have to excuse me, this book, because Israelites, we actually read our Bible, so these mothers have wear and tear all over. This is the book of First Maccabees, going into the Greek captivity, brothers and sisters. The book of First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus was a Greek king, stemming out of the 4 generals of Alexander the Greek. It says, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. And it's the same thing what America does today. We're all one. No, you're an American. No, I'm an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. You can be an American, but I'm an Israelite. So this is the same tactics that they used back then that they use today. It says, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed to the commandment of the king. And this is what they want us to do. Hey, you don't have to keep the dietary laws no more. Come on, you can eat what you want to eat now. Hey, you don't have to celebrate Feast of Dedication. Keep Christmas. Leave those laws. Come and be an American. Worship the Constitution. Well, guess what, Esau? This is our Constitution. Verse 43, yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. And that's many of what our people do today. It says, for the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land. And that's what it did. By them putting us in captivity, they basically beat our heritage out of us. The same way how it occurred in slavery. They literally beat our heritage out of us, brothers and sisters. I'm going to jump down to verse 48. That they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. Verse 9, this is the point, and this is the heaviest point. To the end, they might forget the law. So those things happen. That persecution happened so our people would stop keeping God's laws, brothers and sisters. That's why when we tell people, you can be anything you want, but let a so-called African American say that he's an Israelite, boy, you're going to catch hell. No, they don't care about you being an Israelite, and that should set off a ding in brothers and sisters' spirit. Like, damn, Kyrie ain't catching no hell for saying that he was lighting the incense or whatnot. What was that stuff he was burning? Sage, saying that he was in Islam. But now that he's saying, hey, from Negroes to Hebrews, now it's a problem. That should automatically let brothers and sisters know, like, something ain't right. Let me dive and look into this thing. By him posting that video, it reads, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. Verse 50, and whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. So our people were put to death for keeping God's commandments and calling themselves Greeks. Let's go to another precept, another heavier precept as well. Let's go to 2 Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 6. Make sure brothers and sisters are writing these 2 precepts next to the book of Galatians chapter 3 verse 28, because it's giving you a more detailed understanding of why it seems there is no Jew nor Greek. Because if God was for everybody, why wouldn't it say there is neither Jew nor Greek, nor Roman, nor Moabite, nor Ammonite, nor Japhite, nor Shemite, nor Elamite? Why would it just name those 2? So you're basically restricting, because a lot of times when people read this book, they thinking Galatians are white people. That's the mindset that our people have, man. Oh, these just white people. So blacks and Hispanics, we ain't got no salvation. No, that's not what they're saying, man. This is the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 6 and verse 6. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. So during the time of the Greek captivity, we couldn't even say that we were Israelites. We have to call ourselves what? Greeks. That's why it's saying there is neither Jew nor Greek. That's exactly why it's saying that. And you read about it even with uh Titus being a Greek. Meaning what? Was he an actual Greek? No, he was in a Greek Gentile state of mind. Remember, he was a citizen of Greece or had that as his citizenship, but your nationality, his nationality was an Israelite. Citizenship, brothers and sisters, and nationality are two different things. We are citizens over here in America, but our race or our nationality is Israelites. It's a difference. And a lot of times America has conflated the two, saying that what your citizenship is your nationality, and that's not so. Brother, brother Robert Mann? No, remember it now, Robert Mann, like we said, Chicanos, like we said, I know a lot of times our people think that they are Asian, but you have to remember, brother Robert Mann, how good is your Bible history? Do you understand the Old Testament as well as the New Testament? I want to hear that, because you have to understand that the part of the northern tribes problem, Shalom Jasmine Warren, part of the northern tribes problem is that they always mixed amongst the other nations, brother. And I just brought these precepts out to brother Yahshua Yehuda. Let's go get it again. Let's see why they have that look. Because I know a lot of times you thinking that they're Asians, and that's the point. How can you assume that if you don't understand the history of the Old Testament? Well, one of the things, we'll give you a quick course real quick. One of the things, the Northern Tribe, what we know today as the so-called Native American and Mexican Americans, they always mixed amongst the other nations. So they mixed amongst the Chinese. So if you mix amongst the Chinese, guess what? You will have some people that look like them. They mixed amongst the Japanese. That's why when you go to some of them tire stores, you can't tell if they Issachar, Ishmael, or Moab. You're like, damn. But then once you start to hear them talk, yeah, that's Ishmael. Ishmael, I got you behind. You ain't slick. Yeah, you know them. That's the point. They mixed amongst the other nations all the time. They mixed and looked like that even before they got to the Americas, brother. That's the history that you have to understand, man. That's right. And then even with that, you got so-called a lot of the people that they don't show in those areas as well. But like we tell brothers and sisters, this truth is not about color. It's not about the way you look. It's about what's in your blood. That's the point. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 24 and verse 13. Now I want to get this. I want to show brother Robert Mann this precept real quick. I'm going to be jumping all over. I know we just read it last week or a couple weeks ago. But guess what? We're going to read it again. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49, and verse 1. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49, and verse 1. See, a lot of times you have to get into biblical understanding or ancient people's geography. You have to get into the names. You have to get into these things. Because people read this and talk about the Ammonites. Ain't no Ammonites on the planet no more. Yes, they are. The Ammonites today are the so-called Japanese people. So if God created all races and nations, surely they would be found in the Bible, right? Yes. Remember, Ak, is no such thing as a mixed seed. Why do you struggle with that, brother Yehuda? And I'm going to ask you, brother, you've been keeping the high holy days. I'm going to tell you, a lot of times when brothers or sisters struggle with a specific doctrine, it's always a breakdown from brothers not keeping the commandments. So that's why I asked that. Because the scriptures say, Psalms 111 and 10, the fear of the Lord, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. So that verse is letting you know, if you are keeping God's commandments, you'll have a good understanding. So a lot of times when it's a breakdown, when brothers don't understand a simple doctrine, it's a breakdown of the commandments. But this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49 and verse 1. Concerning the Ammonites, this is for brother Robert Mann. All praise God. Are you keeping the laws that you can keep? Because we want to get to this thing, man. I know you've been struggling with this thing for weeks now. Concerning the Ammonites, thus saith the Lord, had Israel no sons? Hath he no heir? Why then doth their king inherit Gad, and his people dwell in his cities? So the Most High God is letting us know that the Ammonites mixed amongst the Native Americans. So you even see Native Americans, like how they thinking like with the Eskimo, with the slanted eyes. They mixed amongst the Japanese, even before they got to the Americas. So brothers have to understand that history. Remember, not only them, but guess what? The so-called Mexican American state. Today, the so-called tribes of Issachar, they mixed amongst them. That's why they have lighter skin. That's why they have straighter hair. Because they mixed amongst not only just the white man, but all the other nations. The Japanese, the Chinese, the Elamites, which are the East Indians. You got the Persians, or the Iranians, the Iraqis, the Turkeys. You have them mixing amongst these nations, so they will have some of their features, but that doesn't make their race thin. Remember, those are scriptures that we always go over. Remember, I'm gonna tell you, brother Yeshua, Yehuda, you never address Numbers 1 and 18. That scripture is literally telling you there is no such thing as mix. When it's talking about mixes, meaning that they had sex with them. Just because two races have sex, that's not a new race, brother. That's not a new race. That race is whatever that father is. So if a Japanese and a so-called black woman mix, that baby is not black just because it has black skin. No, that baby is a Chinese baby. It's no such thing as mixed, brother, and you're not letting the scriptures dictate your doctrine, brother. That's the point. Let's go to the book of Proverbs 24 and 13. So we want to make sure brothers and sisters stay in the spirit, man, understanding that it's going to be bitter and it's going to be sweet and it's truth, man. But the Most High God is preparing us for these things. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 24 and verse 13. And it reads, My son, eat thou honey, because it is good, and the honeycomb which is sweet to thy taste. So shall the knowledge of wisdom be unto thy soul, when thou hast found it. Then there shall be a reward, and thy expectation shall not be cut off. So we know what the good is according to the Bible. That's what the Most High God is comparing honey to. Even when brothers and sisters eat honey, honey has great properties. Like when you eat honey or put honey on an infected wound, it won't get infected. It has many, many health benefits. And the Most High God is using that as a similitude for the commandments. Because what is good according to the Bible? Let's see. Let's go to the book of Romans. Let's see what good is. Brothers know the precepts. Put them in there so we get edification. Let's see what good is according to the Bible. The book of Romans, chapter 7 and verse 12. Let's see what good is. The book of Romans, chapter 7 and verse 12. Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandments holy, and just, and good. So that honey that we should be eating is the commandments. That's what it's talking about being good. Let's go back to Proverbs 24 and verse 13. My son, eat thou honey, because it is good, and the honeycomb which is sweet to thy taste. Verse 14, it says, so shall the knowledge of wisdom be unto thy soul. And brothers know what knowledge is. Brothers should know what wisdom is. Knowledge is, that's right. Proverbs 4 and 1, 2, that's another great precept. For he give us good doctrine. Forsake ye not his law. So even within that, brothers should know what knowledge is. Knowledge is what? Going back to the commandments. You know, knowledge is also going into what? Strive, and knowledge is also going, it's like your wisdom is also going into keeping the commandments. Let's get both of them for edification, man. Let's go to the book of Malachi. You know, we say many brothers that are new in this truth, that's why you see brothers that been in this walk, hey, studying to flood this thing with precepts. You know, because they understand, hey, this is how the Bible is teaching us, precept upon precept, to get a good understanding. This is the book of Malachi, chapter 2 and verse 7. For thy priest's lips should keep knowledge, and they should seek the law at his mouth. So this is letting us know that knowledge is what? Is the laws of God. It says, for he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts. Meaning what? When brothers are out there teaching the Bible and you're so-called being a messenger of the Most High God, guess what? You're going to be teaching our people the law. So that lets you know all these pastors that we see, if they're not teaching our people the law, they're not sent by the Most High God, man. You telling brothers, hey, stop smoking, giving them what? First Chronicles chapter 3, verse 16. Sisters, put on a dress, giving them Deuteronomy 22, verse 5. Brothers, take them dresses off, get them also Deuteronomy 22, verse 5. Gather together as a nation of people. What? Zephaniah 2 and 1. He's literally giving us constantly. You cannot go without teaching, without giving somebody one of God's commandments. That's what we're commanded to do, man. And like we said, and that's the bitter to our people, because our people don't like what? Keeping his commandments. Let's get another precept. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 5. Let's get what wisdom is. Remember, this is a book about commandments. Now, how then can the other nations or religion take this book and then say, no, it's not about commandments? No, they go one and the same with the Most High God. Let's see what wisdom is according to the Bible. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 5. This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whether ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. So the nations are not going to respect us unless we start what? Keeping God's commandments. And you starting to see that a little bit. You starting to see so-called Caucasian men stand up and what? Say that guess what? The so-called Negro over here in America is the Israelites. You'll see those things because guess what? A lot of times our people don't believe them. When you're trying to tell them that they're Israelite, nigga, get out of here. Nigga, you look like me. You black and ashy just like me. So what? I ain't going to listen to you. But I'm going to listen to that so-called white man. And guess what? He's telling you the same damn thing. You think he really has your best interests at heart? I mean, that's the hatred that we have for one another, man. But we have to come up out of that, man. We must come up out of that. Like I said, brothers and sisters, have any questions, put them in the chat. Like I said, I just kind of want to go over this quick. Showing brothers and sisters about the bitter and the sweet being in this truth. And understand that guess what? The bitter is going to come. That's right. That's another great precept as well. I kind of want to get that Proverbs 4 and 1. 4 and 2, Salakia. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 4 and verse 2. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not my law. So we know that the doctrine that the Most High God is giving us, Salakia, brothers and sisters, is the law. This is the doctrine that brothers and sisters need to be standing on. Like we say, this is the sweet, and we understand, guess what? In this sweet is some bitterness. Like I say, Jacob's trouble is going into the bitterness. Being persecuted is going into the bitterness. Not wanting to take correction is going into the bitterness. Forsaking the Most High God, that's the bitterness, man. But we understand, like, hey, we have to cast those things off, man. Let me go back up. See if I missed anything. Yeah, now, concerning what? No, it's talking about the Edomites where they were allowed to give sacrifices to the priests. That's what that's going into in Deuteronomy chapter 23. Let's get that real quick. That's not saying that. Remember, it's not for them anyway, but the Most High God is giving them time basically to bring sacrifices. Yes, they did. Because like we said, during this time, if you was going to be a part of our nation, you have to follow our customs. For brothers and sisters that don't understand their history. But then you see 2 chapters later where the Most High God is giving an order to utterly kill Amalek. So you have to take all those scriptures in context. This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 7. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite. Edomites today are the so-called Caucasian race. So the Most High God is telling us during this time, don't abhor them. The word abhor means to hate. But remember, what did they do? Chapters later, they what? Broke the brotherly covenant. So the Most High God did what? Had the decree put out for them to be destroyed. That's why you got books like Obadiah. That's why you got books like Malachi. That's why you have books like Jeremiah. That's why you have books like Isaiah chapter 63. You constantly read and see prophets doing what? Prophesying destruction concerning the nation of Edom. So can this really mean this? Yes, it meant it for a time, and only for a time, until they broke the brotherly covenant. That's precepts brothers don't understand. The book of Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 7. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Yes, they are fraternal brothers, Jacob and Esau. It says, thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou was a stranger in his land. And the Most High God said for a set time, don't what? Don't hate the Egyptians. Because guess what? We were a stranger in their land. Verse 8. The children that are begotten of them, not us, brother. And this is the point. The children that are begotten of them shall enter into the congregation of the Lord in the third generation. So he was letting them come in to what? To do what? To sacrifice. To give their offerings to the priest, so the priest could go in there and give them a sacrifice. That's all that it's saying. It's not saying nothing more. And that's right. You know we finna go out. Amos chapter 1. Brothers already know where we finna go, where we're about to go. Amos chapter 1 and verse, we're going to read verse 9 and 11. These are precepts concerning thou shalt not abhor an Edomite. Yes, it was during that time, but remember, they broke the brotherly covenant, and that's what we're about to read. This is the book of Amos chapter 1 and verse 9. Thus said the Lord God, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus, and for 4, I would not turn away the punishment thereof, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom, and remember not the brotherly covenant. So the Tyrese or Tyree or Tyrus, so-called Africans, delivered us into the captivity into the Edomites. Now, if they are brother, why would they put us in captivity? That's why the Most High God is saying, and remember not the brotherly covenant. Verse 11, thus said the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, and these are just numbers of completions. Meaning what? Brother, I ain't seen you in a minute. Does it literally mean I ain't seen you in 60 seconds? No. Meaning what? They done constantly broke this. Have they literally just had 3 and 4 transgressions against the nation of Israel? No. Because when you read in the book of Maccabees, it say they are the inventors of mischiefs against the nation of Israel from the beginning of time. Verse 11, thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. Meaning what? Most High God is letting us know they have a hatred for us even till today, brothers. It's not a coincidence that so-called Caucasians and so-called Negroes are constantly at odds with one another. Not just us with the nation of Israel, because they're at odds with the Native Americans and so-called Mexican Americans. Constantly taking Gad's land. Constantly what? Trying to keep our brothers out of the border. I mean, come on, man. This was their land. Now you want to set up laws and so forth. So they broke that covenant. Verse 12. But I will send a fire upon Teman. Teman is one of the sons of Edom, which shall devour the palaces of Basra. Basra is the capital of Edom. On a spiritual note, it's really going into what? Washington, D.C. Because that really is Esau's headquarters. Going into teaming, going into Russia as well. So brothers got to make sure that they have a good understanding of that. Yeah, what you were saying, Brother Joseph, Pure River of Life. That's a good precept. Any other questions, brothers and sisters? Any topic that brothers want to go over? Trying to go back up. Yeah, but I know you put those on your Ezra 9 and 2. They mixed, but that doesn't make a new race. Now, that's why I always ask you, brother, Yehuda, when 2 different nations mix, what race is that child? Like if I asked you last time with Tia and Tamara, What race are they? I'm pretty sure you've seen that show growing up, the twins and so forth. What race is Tia and Tamara? Can any brother or sister put that in the chat? What race are they? Are they a new race? Because remember, the male puts the seed in that woman. It is whatever that father is. Now, you may have some features. That's right. You know, they're white. Just because they have black skin or brown skin doesn't make them Israelites. And I know a lot of times that's what our people have been taught. You know, black is the dominant color. Yeah, you're right. But just because your skin is black doesn't mean that your blood is Israel. So I'm waiting for Brother Yehuda to put it in there. Brothers already know. What race are T and Tamara, brother? That's a simple question. Are they a new race? You know, are they a watered down race? What are you trying to say? Because I mean, you have to have a race. Yeah, they color is red, but like we say, shoot, they race, and that is a good one. That's what we do call them, rednecks down south. But I know, brother Yeshua Yehudi, I struggle with that thing, man. Like he thinking they gonna sneak up in the kingdom, man. And I'm gonna go into that class too, the wheat and the tares. Nobody's sneaking up in the kingdom. They're not sneaking up in the nation of Israel. I don't know who that is. Andrea Ward, who is that? It's many people that we done found out we thought was Israelites that's not. Sure, I know Faith Evans, her daddy Edomite. You know, it's many other people as well. If I'm not mistaken, I think my wife was telling me Barry Gordy. You know, I think Irv Gotti. I think his daddy is literally Filipino, probably of the seed of Japhet. So when brothers extensively do these things, I know Capt Jerubbaal was telling us about Farrakhan and so forth. You know, his daddy going back to being what? An Edomite. So Reginald Charles, I don't know who that is. Who is Sog the boxer? I don't know who that is. Break it down a little bit more, because I know some of those. But like we say, just because they have brown skin don't mean that. Brother Yeshua Yehuda, Bob Marley, that's great. You know, we always bring that up. Thanks, Brother Yaakov. Bob Marley, I mean, talking about he straight dreadhead. Bumba Clyde, man. But guess what? He gonna die because he's an Edomite. I mean, it is what it is. Gave great reggae songs or whatnot. But hey, his father is Edom, so guess what? He's Edom, man. I know Miss Yahweh saves, can we settle if it was a cross or a tree? That's a good point, sis. And even just like Brother Yawal, I know he kind of covered that it was both. Remember, a cross is made out of a tree. So I know a lot of times people think that it was a distinction in the book of Acts chapter 1 and in the book of Matthews. But yeah, messed me up. Yeah, I know your faith, yeah. Let's go to the book of Matthews. So it was both. It was both. See if I can find that real quick. He was hanged on a tree. And like we said, we get the account. Because I know a lot of times people think that it was contradicting, but it's not. It's going into one and the same. You understand that, sis? Okay, all praise. Like we said, we just wait for brothers and sisters to put some questions and get ready to get up out of here in a little bit. Yeah, you know we can do this all day. Any brothers and sisters have any questions on Facebook? No, I ain't been seeing it. Bear with me. Yeah, so it's many nations that were that we think are Israel, that when you really find out and prepare the search of their fathers go back to another nation. Even I think I was looking at what's her name? The singer, I can't even remember her damn name. But I think her father is Elam. I know Randy where it said eggs don't hatch without the life that comes out of males. And that's another good point too. That's a great point. Meaning that male puts its seed into that woman. Now the thing is, brothers get seed and features mixed up. Yes, you will have some features. Like we say, when you have a child, a child may have features from his mom and his dad, but his dad is giving them what? Their nationality or their race. Remember, sperm, race, nationality is different from your features. And that's what brothers got to understand. I know a lot of times we think just because Issachar has features of Esau that they are Esau. No, you have to go by what the scriptures say. Remember, brothers and sisters, we got new moon coming up Tuesday night to Wednesday night. So make sure brothers and sisters are preparing. No buying, no selling. No, that's not according to the Bible. And that's where you be going off, brother Yeshua. Now show me that in the scripture. I know, brother Yeshua Yehuda, that's where you be going off. You lean into your own understanding. It says, brother Yeshua Yehuda said we get 23 chromosomes from both parents. Both must be Israelites. That's not what the Bible says, brother. And I'm going to give you a precept on that. Let's go to the book of 1 Timothy. You have to beware of science. Science is true. But if it doesn't filter through the Bible, brother, hey, that's going off, man. Y'all be safe too. All praise, brother Josiah. Let's get that. This is the book of 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 20. And this is something that he warned our people about. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings, and opposition of science, falsely so called. So that's an opposition of science, brother. Just like how I broke down. It don't give you your race, brother. It gives you features, but just like the book of Numbers. Like you said, you really never deal with numbers. And I know you don't. And I know that thing really be convicting you too, brother. I know, because you really never deal with it. This is the book of Numbers, chapter 1 and verse 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their fathers by the house. And they declared their pedigrees after their families, Salaki, by the house of their fathers. So it's literally telling you, it's ordained by your father, brother. And this is why they had the mixed multitude, brother. And you don't think the Most High God didn't know that they would be slick trying to mix with the other nations, brother? That's the point. So now, like how we did, again, go to Ezra, saying the same thing, brother. Ezra chapter 2 and verse 59. And these were they which went up from Telamah, Telhazar, Cherub, Adar, and Emer, but they could not show their father's house and their seed, whether they were of Israel. So it's literally telling you, brother, they couldn't show their father's house. Your father dictates your nationality. That's why even no, you didn't deal with it, brother. No, where do it say that in the Bible, brother? I know brother said I dealt with numbers. That's not saying that, brother. It says it was only dealing with the 12 tribes of Israel. No other nation was mentioned in Numbers. No, that's not just dealing with the 12 tribes. When the Most High God sets laws unknowingly, it goes for the whole planet Earth, brother. Like you just gonna give a damn law. They're just not instituted yet, brother. That's the difference. They're not instituted. So when the Most High God gives laws, guess what? Unknowingly, it's for the whole planet Earth. That's why when you read in the book of what? In the book of Matthew, it's giving Christ's genealogy. Why don't it give the mama and the father? It's giving you the fathers, brother. That's the point. That's right. And we said it's backed up by 2 scriptures. Jeff Mack, should we keep so-called Thanksgiving like the Sabbath? Hell no. Better not be keeping no no damn Thanksgiving. We're going to do a class on that thing Wednesday. Thanksgiving is the slaughter of our brothers, the Native American Indians. That turkey represents the body. That cranberry sauce represents the blood that was spilled for getting America. No, that's a holiday celebrating the destruction of our Native American brothers, man, and the northern tribe. So no, you know, God gave us high holy days that we should celebrate. Let's get this real quick. Let's go to the book of Leviticus. We shouldn't walk in the manners of the Gentiles, of these other nations, man. This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 20 and verse 23. And ye shall not walk in the manners of the nations, which I cast out before you, for they committed all these things, and therefore I abhorred them. So the Most High God is telling us, don't walk in their manners, meaning don't keep their traditions, don't keep the things that they esteem. No, we keep God's laws, statutes, and commandments and his high holy days, brother. So no, Jeff, Matt. I'm going to tell you, don't be slick trying to go over there at Big Mama house either, brother. Because you know damn well if you're going over there, you know what they're going to pull you into. Jerome, that's a good question, brother. You know, we teach. Let's go to the book of Genesis. I know Brother Jerome Part say, is the sun inside or outside the firmament? Let's go. When we say outside, remember it's 4 different levels of heaven, Brother Jerome. So you got one heaven is called, where the Most High God is, the 3rd heaven. Then you got another heaven which is going into space. And you got another heaven which is considered the sky. Then you have the last heaven which is considered rulership. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse, I'm going to start at verse 6. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. So this firmament, okay, all praise. We hope we did mistake you out. So this firmament that's dividing the waters from the waters is what we have, that sky. So you have the sky, but then you have a firmament in between the sky and space. Because we know it says, and let it divide the waters. You have waters in space from the waters, meaning waters in the sky. Because we know that the sky, the blue, the clouds is made up about what? Water. So that's that firmament. So verse 7, and God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. So you got waters that's above the firmament, which is relating to space. Then the waters that are up under the firmament is going into the sky. Verse 8, and God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the 2nd day. Now we're going to jump down. Verse 14, and God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days. So we see, jumping down, I'm going to keep reading on. Verse 15, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and it was so. And God made 2 great lights, the lesser light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. So where do we see these? Where do you see the stars? You see the stars, the sun, the moon, up in what? Up in what we would call space. So that's why we say, like we say, the stars, the moon, the sun, that's dealing in the space. Then you have the clouds in the sky. Birds fly in the sky. We know that what? The sun revolves around the earth, not the other way around, like how we've been taught in Esau's white man science or whatnot. Yeah, you have to clarify that, Brother Jeff Mack. What was you saying, brother? I know Brother Joseph Malik, pre-birth Nimrod. I know Brother Yashar Yehuda says, was the light in Genesis 1 and 3? Remember, in Genesis chapter 1 through 3, that light that is going into what? It's going into the commandments and sin. It's also on a deeper level going into what? Christ. Because we know that Christ was the first creation of the Most High God. And he represents what? The light. Let's get that real quick. Let's go to the book of Colossians, chapter 1, verse 16. This is the book of Colossians, chapter 1, and verse 15. This is the book of Colossians, chapter 1, verse 15. Who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature, Salaki. For by him were all things created. So the Most High God created Christ first, and then used Christ to do what? Create everything else. That's why it's saying, verse 16, for by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, meaning the spirits, the demons that are out here, the Most High God had Christ create them too. It says, whether they be thrones, meaning rulerships, dominions, or principalities or powers, all things were created by him and for him. So that's how we see that, Brother Yashar Yehuda. As being the firstborn. I know Messiah was saved, and there is no mention of planets. Let's bring that out. Yeah, and I know I seen Brother Elazar. No, brother did a good class on that. I know he was saying basically like the planets are representation of the stars. Now I'm gonna tell you, sis. Now the Bible does mention planets in the scriptures. Let's go get that. You know, and I ain't gonna lie, kind of. I know we talk about this often amongst the captains and even brothers that have been here before us. You know, even whether the earth is spherical, whether it's flat, whether it's this, whether it's that, it's like, we don't care what it looks like. We just want to rule it, man. You know, we want to rule all those things. And we know a lot of times the Most High God is going to open up that understanding, Lord's will. We make it to the wilderness or make it to the kingdom. You know, and that's ultimately the goal. Let's see. I always lose this precept too. I think it was very simple precept. See if I can find it real quick. Yeah, this is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 23 and verse 5. And he put down the idolatrous priests, whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah, and in the places round about Jerusalem, them also that burn incense unto Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to the whole host of heaven. So, you know, we see it in there whether or not it's a scriptural error, you know. But we do literally see planets and host of heaven making reference to what? To the stars. Jeff Mack, I'm going to keep it like the Sabbath. No cook. What you talking about? Cook. Keep what? Better be talking about no damn Thanksgiving. So I'm going to keep it like the Sabbath. No cooking, no buying, no selling. I'm in the truth. I watch you. And the Capt all the time just trying to add. Now, clarify. What you mean? The new moon or Thanksgiving? Have to clarify. Yeah, exactly. All those things really says the worship of the planets and the worship of stars. The Most High God gave them those things for that too. You know, for that particular reason. You know, it's a precept. I have to remember. Let me see. What she said, utterly destroy. Burn down. Destroy them out of. It's a precept showing that he literally gave the stars and the host of heaven for those nations to serve. So yeah, you're right on that, sis. Shalom, 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 sis. I am Israel 76. Any more questions before we get up out there? I know we're reaching a 2-hour mark. If not, done past it. Brother Jeff Mack, you got to make that thing clear, brother. I said, we don't have any other questions. Make sure brothers and sisters like, share the video. We pray that brothers and sisters were edified. Like we say, it's our job to do what? Keep this righteous rehearsal. Oh yeah, we had answered that one. Thanks, Brother Yaakov. Yeah, I let sister know that it was both. The tree, we say a cross is made out of a tree. Now that we don't kind of get into that, I know Brother Yashar Yehuda says how many years since creation. I know brothers from Sakara was doing a pretty good video on it. You know, a lot of times going to First Peter's, a day is as 1,000 years and 1,000 years as a day. Even going into Second Ezra's, where the Most High God is saying that the world is divided into 12 parts. So I know a lot of times brothers may say that 12 parts is a representation of 12,000 years. You know, but hey, to be precise, I wouldn't take a guess. So this is the one, the book of Second Ezra, chapter 14 and verse 11. I'll start at verse 10. The book of Second Ezra, chapter 14 and verse 10. For the world had lost its youth, and the times began to wax old. For the world is divided into 12 parts, and the 10 parts of it are gone already. So we have 10 parts gone, and the half of a 10th part. So you got 10 and a half parts gone. So you got what? 1.5 parts left. What? Symbolizing to the Most High God, bringing destruction on the planet Earth and what? Refreshing this earth. So we know this was even during the time of Ezra. So how many times have it? I've been in truth going on 10 years now, Brother Yashar Yehuda. About 10 years. So yeah, those brothers try to say that, but I'm going to tell you this, a lot of times I don't. You know, we study to give an answer like the scripture says, but sometimes this can be an answer too. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 3 and verse 21. Seek not out the things that are too hard for thee, neither search the things that are above thy strength. So the Most High God warns us about trying to, be too deep. Verse 22, but what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence. For it is not needful for thee to see with thine eyes the things that are in secret. So it's many secrets that the Most High God has out there that our brains in this particular capacity cannot comprehend. So the Most High God is just telling us, just keep the commandments, keep it simple. A lot of times, hey, you go too deep, hey, brothers can drizzle out. That was something we learned when I first got into the truth. So if you can obtain those things without that, but hey, we just want to make sure that we apply the scriptures. How long have you been in the truth, Brother Yeshua Yehuda? How long have you been in the truth, Doc? All praise, Doc, about the same time. All praise. Brother Joseph Malaga, all glory to God. In the name of Yeshua, maybe last fuller. All praise. Like we said, we always tell brothers and sisters to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. So we always love to end with the law. I know we'll just go back to Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 23 and just read that. So we just pray brothers and sisters were edified, making sure and understanding the bittersweet when it comes to this truth. Shalom, shalom, Sister Odetta Price. How you doing, sis? You and Quinn. We pray that brothers and sisters are edified. That brothers and sisters are striving to keep the commandments, that brothers and sisters are striving to, guess what, gather amongst your people. Brothers and sisters going to need brothers and sisters to be a part of a congregation because, like we said, things about to start hitting the fan. So like we always say, hey, we're stronger in it's strength in numbers. Like many precepts said in the book of Ecclesiastes 4:9, two are better than one, and many other precepts that show us that we must gather together. So we want to make sure that we're doing those things. Like I said, go back to this precept that we had, Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 23. This is the book of Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 23. And this is going into brothers and sisters that are trying to sneak and secretly keep Thanksgiving. Man, don't be slick. Don't be slick because the Most High God know your heart, man. He know if you're trying to plot Just think about it, man. You can go see Big Mama any day of the year. Why you trying to wait to this time to go see Big Mama or Paw? Don't be slick, man. Stop it, man. Because the Most High God is seeing it. He got the angels watching every move you make. Yeah, that sister thinks she's slick. Put that down. Yeah, I see you. Brother think he's slick. And they're going to jot it down and report it back to the Most High. So don't be slick, brothers and sisters. This is the book of Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 23. And ye shall not walk in the manners of the nations. What's a manner of the nations? Manners of the nations is going into Thanksgiving. You know, that has no benefit for us at all. Say it again. I know you probably pulled that. No, I didn't. Pull Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 18. I did not. All praise. And we have brothers that always have brothers back, man, with precepts that brothers may not have brought out. I know Brother Donovan bringing out an extra precept, man, but yeah, even good precepts. But like we tell brothers, you know, the manners of the nations is going into Thanksgiving. You know, hey, don't do that. The Most High God gives us real high holy days to commemorate us being saved from captivity, like the Feast of Dedication. That's what brothers and sisters need to be preparing for. Not preparing for Christmas. Like we say, you thinking, your sons and daughters thinking that a so-called white man is giving them gifts when you worked your hard butt off all the year. I mean, that's white supremacy at its finest. So you want to make sure that you don't do those things, man. And guess what? Sure, all praise, all right. Need all hands on deck, too, for this truth, brother. And like we say, we want to make sure brothers and sisters are getting built up to be able to join a camp, man. Hey, that's a commandment, brothers and sisters. And hey, you can't neglect that thing, man. All praise, too. So I'm going to read on. Verse 23, and ye shall not walk in the manners of the nations, which I cast out before you, for they committed all these things, and therefore I abhorred them. So the Most High God hates us when we're dealing in those particular wicked holidays, brothers and sisters. That's right. So with that, we pray that brothers and sisters were edified, giving all praises to the Most High and to his son Yahushua. With that, we say shalom.